You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Headlines of the news today, the 24th of February. Violent rapist and thief given only 7 years. Labour MP charged by police for attacking 7 people. Vicar brings shame on church and country. Euronews with Nick Griffin. Trouble again in Afghanistan over Koran burnings. And thought for the day. UK news. A violent serial robber who sexually attacked women in South London has been imprisoned. Serial rapist Abdul Ahmed, age 21, attacked young women by following them off the bus and asking them for a light for a cigarette before raping them. He also robbed victims at knife point, walking them to cash machines, threatening to stab or to shoot them. This serial rapist has attacked 7 women in just 10 weeks. However, even taking this into account, the judge passed a light sentence for Ahmed of only 7 years in prison. One spokesperson has commented, he only got 12 months for each woman he sexually assaulted or raped and then robbed. A convicted rapist committed 1 sexual assault and exposed himself at 2 more women whilst under police surveillance. Michael Phillips, 35, has been convicted of all 3 offences at Lewes Crown Court and will be sentenced on March the 22nd. Phillips was released from prison in July 2011 when he had served a 10-year sentence for the rape of an 18-year-old girl. A Labour Party MP has been charged by police for headbutting Tory MP Stuart Andrew in the House of Commons bar. Mr Andrews suffered concussion and 6 other people were attacked as well. MP Eric Joyce, who is ex-army, is the 2nd Labour Party official to be suspended this February, one source has said. Labour whip Phil Wilson also sustained cuts and bruises and 8 police officers were involved in this fracas. He has also been charged with 3 counts of common assault and will appear at the West London Magistrates Court on March the 7th. An Indigenous British vicar has brought shame on his church and country by performing £30,000 worth of sham marriages. The vicar, named as Brian Shipsides, could face up to 14 years in jail for the scam, which is seen to have at least 200 non-European scam marriages from the Third World taking place under his auspices. Also, along with the vicar being charged, is a woman from Nigeria named as Amdula Ladipo. The bogus marriage scheme was foiled when the public reported that before the scams began there were only 15 marriages per year at the parish, until all the Nigerians started queuing outside the church. These shams cost around £140 per throw. By the time the vicar, who was branded a traitor to the British people, had been caught, over 250 a year were being performed. The marriages allowed illegal immigrants to stay in Britain and jump on the welfare bandwagon. Euronews with Nick Griffin. This week's dispatch from the belly of the beast isn't. That's because it's a week off for the European Parliament. MEPs are supposed to spend the week campaigning at home, explains Nick Griffin, but quite a few will come back with light tans that suggest a hard stint in a winter sun destination rather than on the streets in the European February. So I'm writing this week's script in Britain for a change, he continues, getting the job done before setting off for Liverpool, where I'll be discussing what could well end up as a human rights challenge in Europe. The council there are still trying to persecute the owner of the venue we used for our voting members' conference last autumn. The Stalinist Labour Council there backed off from their original threat to take away his licence as punishment for fulfilling his contract with us. Even they realised in the end that such a move would have been instant legal suicide, but instead they've ordered Brian to put in a hugely expensive and wholly unnecessary security measure or lose his licence. Brian has asked for my help as his MEP, since all the other politicians either support the prosecution or, in the case of the cowardly Tories, are turning their usual blind eye to evil. So I'm heading for Liverpool shortly and will keep you updated on the fight for justice and freedom of assembly in a city that's been comprehensively ruined by a combination of Thatcherite neoliberal globalism, militant Labour politics of envy and Lib Dem incompetence. Since our people all over the country face similar problems, and with May's elections racing up on us, now is the time to organise for them. So after the last 5 days I've done 5 meetings, 3 in London, 1 in Wrexham and 1 in Salford, to raise funds and practical support for our big push to retake our seat on the Greater London Assembly. So far these efforts have raised well over £10,000, so I'm pleased to be able to tell you that we're well on course for our most effective and professional campaign ever in this contest for a voice in our capital city. The latest British Nationalist Members' Bulletin, which will be landing on doormats this Saturday, contains the details of all the other fixtures in my nationwide GLA speaking tour. I hope to meet you at one of them, so see you there. Before then, of course, I'll be back out in my North West constituency with a big team of activists this Saturday, at the protest against the failure of the police to deal effectively with the long-running plague of anti-English racist attacks by gangs of Muslim thugs. These attacks are on the other side of the grooming coin. Our people face a low-level but relentless street jihad, where criminality and crude racism combine with the influence of a culture and a religion that hold unbelievers and women in utter contempt. So teenage lads get beaten to the ground and kicked unconscious, and vulnerable 13 and 14-year-old girls are drugged and gang-raped for the crime of being English and not for being Muslims. Of course, not all Muslims are racists, thugs or paedophiles. I'm sure that many of them are ashamed of the actions of the criminal minority in their midst. But we do need to hear effective condemnations of these crimes from their imams and community leaders, just as we need to see action from our own ruling class. The police chiefs, news editors, judges and politicians who have conspired for more than a decade to brush the problem under the carpet are the ones who most to blame, and the ones against whom we should direct our righteous anger. People are also getting angry, says Nick, about the steadily rising price of fuel. The cost of getting to work, going shopping or visiting friends and family is becoming a really big burden for many already hard-pressed motorists. Non-drivers aren't exempt from the pain either, because every extra penny on the price of diesel works through into higher prices for food, heat and public transport. We are all being screwed. And while we're all feeling the pain now, it's going to get a whole lot worse as that ridiculous pipsqueak William Hague carries on warmongering against Iran. Hague was the long-term former flatmate of Alan Duncan, who has extensive connections with the oil industry. Duncan coordinated the government's hugely expensive bombing campaign in Libya, and it was his former company that hoovered up the most valuable contracts with the cutthroats now running that shattered country's government. Incidentally, along with Gaddafi also died his plans for an African currency that would have been independent of the international banking system. So the warmongering MPs who used our taxes to stop that will also no doubt get special party invites to Mr Rothschild's luxury yacht later this summer. But it's shaping up to be a summer of pain and protest for all us lesser mortals. Word amongst city oil traders and others in the know is that the price of oil is set to go up by 50% over the next couple of months. The main factor in this is the sabre rattling against Iran by the United States, Israel and the UK political establishment. If it actually becomes a shooting war, it will be even worse. The good news is that I believe that such a sudden price shock, coming on top of the massive taxes we already pay on fuel, could easily spark off a wave of fuel protests by hauliers and ordinary motorists all over Europe. Over the last few weeks, nationalists in southern Italy led a protest by farmers and truckers that mobilised an amazing 100,000 people. You've not heard about it on the controlled media, of course, because our masters don't want us peasants getting ideas above our station, but you can read a full report on our main website. The Italians took inspiration from the British fuel protests back in 2001, and we in turn can learn from their huge success the other week. That's why cooperation between nationalists all over Europe is so important. We're all committed to freedom and prosperity of our own nations, but by working together we can speed the day. World News. Trouble has flared up in Afghanistan after the Koran burning session earlier this week. The Taliban launched attacks with other Muslim group members, killing a number of American troops. President Barack Obama has apologised for the Koran burning session at one of its military bases near Kabul earlier this week, but sources say that his apologies have just fanned the flames. Somali rebels responsible for its militant group al-Shabaab have been getting flushed out of their hiding places, say officials in the rebel stronghold of Badoa. Troops from Somalia and from Ethiopia stormed the village, which has sheltered the militants and has been given safe haven for springboarding operations. Thought for the day. A very brief thought on the abortion scandal in Manchester, where apparently women of multi-ethnic origin can pay to have female fetuses aborted. One of the female consultants involved, Prabha Silvaraman, who divides working for both private clinics and NHS hospitals in Manchester, and has been quoted as telling a woman who wanted this sort of abortion, "I don't ask questions. If you want a termination, you want a termination." My thought? Disgusting is my thought on this. I do not know where we nationalists stand officially on this, but I would imagine it is anti-abortion. I think a woman should have a certain amount of control over her own body, and abortion should be readily available for medical reasons, rape cases and individual cases where considered necessary, not religion and culturally orientated. I do not think abortion should be used as a birth control or indeed as a reason for aborting perfectly healthy female or male children, or indeed plan how many sons they have. That is what this country has become, a haven for the third world in its thinking. Female children cost money to feed and to marry off, and sons are considered more worthy of life in these cultures. So soon we will be leaving female babies on the sides of roads, will we? In 2010 alone, nearly 190,000 abortions were carried out in England and Wales, an 8% increase in a decade. And finally, a new planet has been discovered by astronomers and has been nicknamed Waterworld. The watery planet weighs 7 times heavier than our own planet and is said to be at least 2.5 times heavier. The planet is 40 light years away and orbits a red dwarf. The planet has a hot steamy atmosphere around it and a watery centre. A bit like a giant sauna, one reporter has said. You have been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart, and I and the team at Radio Britain wish you all a very safe and happy weekend.